Hello, hello, hello. This is Dr. Andrea Little Mason, affectionately known as Dr. Doula, and we are here today with another Birth Her Story conversation. And today I am here with another one of my UK sisters, Sister Delia Muhammad. Yes, did I say it right? Delia. Sister
Delia.
Delia.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm just so excited to speak to you. I'm going to give her a chance to introduce herself however she wants, because I think that in that way you'll know who she is. But I just want to tell you what drew me to her. Um, as I'm always talking about being daughters of the African diaspora, and I'm not exactly sure what Sister Delia's lineage is. However, I know that when I'm thinking about it, I'm always thinking about my UK sisters and sisters across the pond and sisters in other parts of Europe, because our story is there as well and our legacy is there as well. And so we've connected through a group they have, because they let me come in, and a UK group. And I just, she's one of those women that's really stood out to me. And so we've been trying to do this interview for quite a while, but I'm so glad that today is the day. And I'm going to first start though. However, Sister Delia, would you please introduce yourself to all those who are listening and watching, however you want to? Tell them who you are, please.
Thank you, Sister Queen. Andrea. Seriously,
Whatever works, honey.
It's a blessing.
Whatever
It's an
works.
absolute blessing to be speaking with you in this way, in this way, because like I said, I've been following you a little while, watching lots of your interviews, and I've always said, when you desire something and you're thinking, well, how are you gonna get that? And then all of a sudden it just happens, and you're thinking, right, can't mess this up. So now that now that I'm here, I'm not going to mess it up. So all I'm going to say to you is thank you once again. Thank everybody that's here listening to this particular interview. My name is Delia Muhammad. I have been a doula. I'm a retired doula, actually. Since 1993 to 2017, I have been a doula. I was a pioneer doula in the NHS, which is the hospital system of the UK. And that was very interesting. I'm also a retired midwife. Oh, yes, it goes on. I am a VBAC specialist. I actually like to help mothers who have had cesarean sections to prepare themselves for a birth, a vaginal birth. I think it can be done. It has been done. I'll go into that a bit more later on, Andrea, because I think it's something that's so poignant with the rise of C-sections right now. And yes, I'm a psychotherapist, and I am also just a free your mind in pregnancy. Pregnancy without fear is what at the moment my focus is on, which is helping mothers who are expecting, and mothers in general, women in general, because it's not just women who are pregnant, but women in general, in how to keep your mind at rest, put your mind at rest. There's so many things that we take on a daily basis, and we just don't know how to be calm in chaos. And pregnancy, I believe, is quite chaotic at times. So I feel that it's for women to be able to know how to be mindful. And one of my podcasts is actually being mindful in pregnancy.
Yeah.
So yes, that's my introduction.
Thank you.
I've been doing this. I've been on this path since 1993, and I'm enjoying it. Even after having a little mishap of having a seizure, etc., it makes no difference. I'm still here.
I thank you so much for still being involved in everything. And so having such a rich legacy, having such a rich background, That means that we have to unpack all of this. So
Okay.
you've been doing birth work for over a quarter of a century. How did you get there? How did that start for you?
It started with my neighbor. She was having a fourth child, and I mean, this is so comical, but it's at the same time, it's a funny peculiar and a funny haha because she was in labor. She comes to my door. I go with her. I don't have a clue about birth. And she says, because her husband couldn't make it, could I go with her? I go with her. We're in the room. And then the midwife says, oh, nothing's going to happen yet. I'll go to my office. And when you're ready to deliver, let me know. And she left us with a student midwife. Yeah. And she's laying down and she's covered up to her waist. And she says to me, well, she called me D. She said, D, I feel like I want to push. So I just said to her, well, push then. So we're expecting her to push. Oh, I said to the student midwife about after half an hour, I said, can you just check and see if there's anything happening? She raises up the sheet. There's a baby lying down underneath the sheet, not even crying, not a budge. We didn't even know the child had been born.
Are
Yeah,
you
we
serious?
didn't know the child had been born. And she
Oh my
panicked because by law at that time, midwives were not supposed to be left with a laboring mother. She's a student. She doesn't understand. The midwife left us. She panicked, started running to hit the emergency button, and everything she tripped and everything that she tried to hold on to was on wheels. So she just fell flat on her face, slid and hit her head under the sink and knocked herself out. If I'm saying about funny, cute, peculiar, and funny, haha. Yeah, seriously, that was my first birth experience.
Oh my gosh, wait a
She
minute.
knocked it, and I looked at my friend, and my friend looked at me. She's got the baby on the breast, and we're looking at each other and thinking, did that just happen? And then I had to get up, run, and knock the emergency button because this student midwife had been knocked out. All we're hearing is like a herd of elephants coming down the corridor because now I'm sure they think something's happened. Yes,
Yes.
something happened. The baby's being born, baby's here, and your student midwife is unconscious. Yeah, that was my first birth experience. And would you believe from that day, I was working as a PA secretary, and I just knew there and then what my calling was. I knew there and then. And my friend had her sister, and two cousins who were expecting, and it just started from there, and it hasn't stopped since then. I've seen over nearly 2,000 babies born.
So you mentioned being a pioneer doula.
Yeah.
What did that mean?
I was the first Black doula that I know of. I don't know of any Black doula in the UK. I was the first Black doula, and I mentored many of the other doulas that are now doulas today.
Wow. What did that look like for you all in what did it look like for birth culture, but what did it look like for you as a Black woman in the UK?
It
What
was very frustrating, Queen. There was so much going on that you couldn't do. And I wasn't too sure if it was because the women were Black or because they were women or because they didn't really know much. Because at that time, I didn't know much. So I'm going with what I'm seeing on the television. There wasn't YouTube at that time.
no.
There was no internet. So I'm having to read books. And then I happened to connect with a doctor he was brilliant. He was a naturopath. And he was able to really help me understand the anatomy, physiology, because I didn't understand it. And
Wow.
it from there, seriously, I helped quite a few doulas because I was on a radio station, and a couple of them heard about what I was doing, and then they said they wanted to do it, got in contact with me, and I became their mentor. They went to a what is it called? Over here we have an organization called Doula UK, which is run by doulas for doulas. So
Yes.
they went there and they were able to then be recognized and get their certificates. And, you know, by God's grace, they're all out there now doing their own thing. They're masseuses, they're reflexologists, they're herbalists. I mean, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Yoga teachers. Yeah.
Wow.
So they're doing really great within the realm in which they've chosen, you know, and I think it's so beautiful for Black women now to be doing this.
So so you mentioned that it was frustrating to, at the beginning it was frustrating. I know here in the US, there's similar stories, but right now more, there's an emphasis on the fact that after years of working and really trying, to be included in certain arenas and it being, challenging. And now more of the more established organizations are more receptive and, you know, whether it's because of challenging birth rates or whatever the reason is, they're more open. But one of the other frustrations that has come for Black women is that birth is spoken about. Here we had the grand midwives, the granny midwives in the South, and we had the story. Have the history that's excluded. So, for example, the story that is told is the story of majority culture. The story that is told it does not include what my grandmothers experienced having my mom and in their, their children at home. It
Yes.
doesn't include that. It just includes what was in majority culture. Does that type of things happen there? You all as Black doulas, who do you reach back to? Because I'm very much aware that some of our issues in the US are US issues. There are issues because of the brand of, systemic racism that we deal with. But I'm not always aware of what that looks like for other people. So for you all,
well, over here, it's
yeah.
still the same thing where it's 5 times women or a Black woman who is expecting is 5 times more likely to lose her life in childbirth, if not within the child within the first year of life. So it's not much different. And I just feel that it's, for me, watching and assessing and sharing and just acquiring information on what is happening with Black women all over the world. It's crazy. But at the same time, they say ignorance is bliss. And we have a tendency to enjoy being ignorant instead of researching, investigating, asking. We'd rather just, and for the many Black women that I do know, and not even Black women, but, women of other cultures, where all they've done is, once they know they're pregnant, the only time you see them is when it's antenatal appointment. They just want to hear that the baby's heartbeat. And then they go back home. They don't go to antenatal classes. They don't do anything. They're just happy to hear the baby's heartbeat. And as long as they hear the heartbeat, that's all that matters. And then they wait until Labor Day. And then when Labor Day comes, they're the ones making the most amount of noise.
It's amazing that you say that, because one of the things I've been exploring in my own work is what, over here we have the civil rights movement and, integration and those things. And I've been exploring what integration, which for us was really assimilation into majority culture, the effect that had, because there was a time even over here before, when we were still segregated from things, there was a time when it was clearly understood there there is no cavalry coming for you. You know, you are not included in these hospitals and these in societies, hospitals, clinics, whatever. You're not included, and it was understood that by our own. Well, I can speak for my family, and I can speak here, and then I'd love to hear what that has been. You know, what you would say the same, whether you would say the same for where you are, all are. When we fully integrated and fully assimilated, we took on a lot of the ways of the majority culture. And in majority culture, there was less of a challenge over here. There was less, there was a way that maternity care and birth was done. But one of the things that it seemed like Black women wanted was, I want to be included. Yeah. And so when I now can go to this doctor's office, this hospital, this whatever, I want to be included in the whole thing. And even though we had our cultural practices, even though there were things that we did that kept us healthy and safe, even without being included, we dropped everything that we knew.
Yes.
Because none of the cultures that I've seen so far that are outside of majority culture did not care for their women. So what I mean is, for example, if you were pregnant in any cultural society, any indigenous society, anything, there are certain rights. There are certain, and not R-I-G-H-T, R-I-T-E-S. Yes. There are certain rights. There are certain rituals, which are things done over and over. There are certain things. Oh, she's pregnant. Yes. Then we need to do this. You know, she's pregnant. Okay, she needs to be here. That doesn't happen in majority culture.
No.
And so I think when you talk about how people just kind of go like, oh, I hear the heartbeat, woo, and then I'll come back when it's time, you know, I'll come back. It's because we trust. All of a sudden we trust so much. We just trust, but I think we've laid down some things that we shouldn't have released. We should have held on to them.
It's so true. And I think as well, for me, walking this road, what I've learned from women in general who are expecting is that we don't understand our physiology. We mention different parts of our bodies, and, you know, we'll talk about hormones. We'll talk about the breast. We'll talk about cervix. But understanding the physiology, how our body works as a woman, as a female, we don't understand that, you know. And we still have other people telling us what and how our body should function, how it has to function, not understanding that, no, by nature, this is how it functions. But we don't seem to understand that. And we, you know, when I'm hearing women saying, oh, I didn't dilate, or I didn't contract, or I didn't, and I'm thinking, how can you not do that? Nature itself has the woman doing that. It's by nature that you do that, unless your baby's breech and then they say to you, oh, you can't go into labor, isn't it? But other than that, for me, Black women do not understand and do not want to understand how they function.
Why do you think that they wouldn't want to know?
It's too much effort, and it means you've got to come out your comfort zone. Yeah, there's a comfort zone that we're all in, regardless of what we want to call it. But there's a comfort zone that we like to stay in. And as far as we're concerned, oh, for me to go and research, oh, it's too much. I haven't got the time. Where am I going to go? Oh, I've got to go to the library. Oh, but I don't know what books to look for. And this is the attitude that we have when it comes to birth and pregnancy. We're not interested, basically. We're just not interested.
Do you think that our interest is different than other, like majority culture, other cultures? Do you think that we, as Black women, are not collectively interested, but that other cultures are more interested?
other cultures have a system, a structure that they can then have once a woman is pregnant. So she becomes pregnant and then she has family, she has friends, she has different individuals that can come in and be included in that pregnancy. When it's us, we do have family and friends, but those family and friends are not really interested in guiding, caring, looking after. We're just there because you're pregnant. And
Where
we know.
how do you think we got to that place though? Because that's not historically who we are. How do you feel like we got to that place of not wanting to research it, not wanting to do this, how do you feel like that happened? Because if you go back over to the continent, that wasn't how we arrived wherever we arrived. You know, there are almost ceremonial things that are done. How do you think we got to be so apathetic,
Well,
generally speaking?
we're in a society where things have been created for us. It was set up already. So we really don't have a choice if we don't understand. If there's miseducation and you don't know you've been miseducated, then you'll follow. And just like, how can I explain it? It's a bit like for the stories and the films that we see about Tarzan, you know, he's in the jungle and he's among the monkeys. So he lives like the monkeys. He swings trees like the monkeys. He eats the food like the monkeys. That's how it is with us. So we are around, and I'm not calling them monkeys, but we're around a certain people who are, yeah, they have a particular way of a lifestyle, and we want to live that lifestyle. We want to have a lovely home. We want to have a good job. We want to have family because that's what they have.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't understand that we have our own culture. There is a culture to us, but we've lost it.
What
We've
would that look?
lost that.
What
Ah,
what would that look like? So here we are. We're playing in this environment. Not really playing, but we find ourselves in these environments that have caused us to become apathetic, not caring about things, not doing the things that we could do, trusting in systems that have not been created for us and have not necessarily been created based on our historical cultural values that will help us to prosper. All those things. What do you look at as a solution to that? I guess one easy way is like, oh, look it up or research or whatever, but that seems like a second step of something. When it comes to, you mentioned before, like community, how do we get from the place of where I don't even see this as important to getting to a place of where the families that are around understand that you're not just here to be here. You're here because we all fulfilled certain roles and we took care of our pregnant women and we need to, how do you get from the place where there isn't the care to, what do you envision for that? Like when based on what you've seen over 25 years or more than 25 years.
it's education. It really is education, and it's finding someone who does care, who you can trust, and then when they impart that information, it actually brings results.
Hmm.
Yeah, because that's what we are. We're a people of results. We want, you know how it is when someone says to you, so Andrea, how do you know that? What proof is there?
Yeah.
You know how we are. We always
Yeah.
want proof. You've always, if you haven't experienced it, we don't want to know. But the minute you've experienced it, all of a sudden now, yeah, I'll listen to you. I mean, when I became a qualified midwife, I had sisters saying to me, I need to see your certificate. Yeah,
I hear you.
they couldn't take me on for who I was. I had to show them and prove to them that I was a qualified midwife.
And sometimes that same requirement is not made for someone that's not Black. Sometimes often they're not going to say, hey, show me your whatever,
That's right.
show me what qualifies you to do it. And that is so true. yeah, that hit home. What gives, who are you to do that? Okay,
Yeah.
so how did you get to the midwifery part from the doula? You were
Well,
pioneering
it
doula.
just happened to be my daughter. This is see, everything for me, I was guided. All right. I didn't plan any of this. This midwifery, birth, pregnancy, none of that was ever on my mind. None of it. My mother was a nurse and she became a matron. That was it. But I didn't ever think to follow her in line to go and work in any hospital. I wanted to be a secretary. I wanted to be a PA. That's where I wanted to go. And it was my daughter. She was collecting her certificates, I think. I think it's certificate, but she had to go back to college. And she said, "Oh, Mum, can you come with me?" And I go with her, and then I see this sign saying midwifery, nurses and midwifery exam. So I walked in there. I queried, asked questions. I said, "Oh, if you want to take the exam now, you can." I just said, "Why not?" 'Cause my daughter was taking too long. So I just took the exam and passed, and then that was it. I was on my way.
So that's so is that the same way now for the NHS? That for NHS, that's what's required for
NHS, it was a doula who was working in the NHS in that particular hospital that emailed me and said, "Guess what? They want doulas. It's a pilot, and they want doulas to come in and work in the hospital. Do you think would you like to do that?" And I said, "Yes," because I wanted to find out. For me, it was like going backstage. You're getting to know what's going on backstage with the doctors and the midwives and all that. So I'm thinking, yeah, I took the exam, and yeah, I
how
was
long had
then,
you how long had you been a doula at that point?
oh gosh, 13 years.
And so then that led to midwifery for you.
No, I was a midwife in 2004. Yeah, I was a doula from 1993 right the way through to 2017. I became a midwife in 2004, right way into 2017. And then I became an NHS doula in 2012 until 2016, 2017.
I just love that. There are so many things in there
Well,
because we often hear people will talk about scope of practice. So, like if you're a midwife, you know, um, well, it's our laws. It's the laws. So, like, they're often you can have a midwife who will not um, attend the birth of a woman who wants her to be there as a doula
yeah,
because then there are laws against that,
that's right.
depending on where you are.
That's right. The
So
thing was, after my midwifery, I just went straight back into doulaing. Because for me, I experienced being around midwives at that time, and it wasn't positive. Plus, all the rules, regulations, protocols, guidelines, it was so much, and it really strangled me because I wanted to be free, but I couldn't be free. I had to be taking notes. I had to be on CTG. I had reporting to doctor. It was becoming so stressful that I just said no. Let me go back to being a doula where I can be with the mothers. I can sit with them. They can share things with me. I can trust them. They can trust me, you know?
yeah,
And the fears that they have, the worries and the concerns, the anxiety, you can help them with all of that. You can't do it when you're a midwife. I can see you as Andrea. Once you deliver Andrea, that's it. I don't see you again. I don't
wow.
check with you again. Because
Mm,
once you leave the hospital, your baby, that's it. I'm just, you're just on the pregnancy belt or whatever, and that's how it is. As a midwife, you really don't, you can have a relationship with mothers, and I expect that happens when it depends on how long they're in labor for, um, and also the connection that you may have with the family members, depending upon who comes in to support
yeah.
them. But other than that, you're just a name, you're just a number. And a lot of mothers will send you thank you cards, but half the time, you're reading the card and you're seeing the name
But you
and
don't remember.
you don't remember. You don't, unless it was a specific birth, you don't remember, So I said, I really can't, I couldn't go down that road. It just, for me, it was frustrating, So I just went straight back into doulaing. And then when I was the NHS doula after 2012, I said no. I had an ailment, and I just said, that's it. I think that's enough now. And yeah, I've been doing that from 1993. I've loved it. I mean, the very first, that same little boy is now in his 30s. He's married and he's got his own child. He's a father, and it's just so beautiful to see him and his child. It really.
So, so when you how long? What was training like for your midwifery work? What was that? How long was it?
Hard. It was hard because there was an expectation, and your tutor had an expectation. So I had to do my dissertation 3 times. And I'm telling you, it was madness. It got so bad that I was listening to this song called Firefighter. It's like a punk rock music. It's crazy music. That was the only way that I could get through. I had to play that music constantly to get through and finish my dissertation. And then they just passed me on a grade 3. Hey, it didn't bother me. It really didn't. I just wanted to be a midwife. And by hook or by crook, I was going to get there. And I got the pass, and that's it. That was all that mattered to me. That was all that mattered, because then I was in the doula world and the midwifery world. And then I was able to share with mothers and also share with midwives what mothers would expect, how they'd like to be, how they like to be spoken to, and if they have birth plans, because a lot of birth plans were crazy. I want this, I want that, you must do this. And I'd say to the mothers, if you think the midwives and the doctors are going to take your birth plan on and you're demanding things, I said, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
How long was that process to become a midwife for you?
3 years.
3 years.
3 years. And the funny thing was, it was my very first experience of a baby dying when I was a student midwife. I'd never seen a baby die when I was a doula, but as a midwife, it was myself and another student. We were looking after a mother, and the father was basically pleading with the doctor, let her have a cesarean section. Please don't do a forceps delivery. And the doctor didn't listen. He'd done a forceps delivery and the baby passed. And the mother was unconscious for a good couple of hours. And the reason why he requested that was because his cousin had lost their child to a forceps delivery a couple of months before.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was my first experience, very first experience of a death, and my only. And I'm really grateful for that. I've never seen another baby. Yeah, I've never seen another mother or couple go through that kind of.
I can only imagine the pain that
I'm telling you, it was with me for a very long time, very long time. I just didn't understand what was going on, and to see a father so distressed, and to see his wife unconscious, but their baby's gone. Oh, so I'm thinking, when she wakes up, she's waking up expecting to see her child. She's not going to see a child. And how do you explain that? It was, no, way too much for me.
Yeah.
Way too much. But I still wanted to pass. I just wanted to get my midwifery done. That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. And
So,
I'm really grateful that I have.
so the NHS doulas, that's actually something where the healthcare system pays doulas, or
Yes,
just
it was the first time ever in 2012 that a particular hospital decided to bring doulas in as a pilot, and we were working just in literally 2 rooms, and another room just had a birthing pool, and it was for all first time, low risk, not first time, low risk mothers. And yeah, it was a beautiful, beautiful event to have first time mothers coming in. We set up the whole of the environment for them. So water features and colored lights and music. Oh, it was heaven. Yeah, it was heaven. Aromatherapy. Oh my word. It was on another level. I loved it. I enjoyed going to work. That was the one time I actually enjoyed going to work, and seeing mothers come out, and say thank you so much. Husbands saying thank you so much, because husbands are in absolute fear of what they think is going to occur. And when we showed them, that, oh no, there are doulas here. Doulas? What's a doula? And when we told them what we did, oh my God, the word went around. People from all around London were transferring themselves from the hospital to
really?
ours. Yeah, because they knew the doulas were there. They knew doulas were there. And as far as they were concerned, they wanted a doula.
That is,
And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I mean, there are still doulas there today. There are still doulas there working there.
and so are there other hospitals now that have also done in
Not that I know of. Not that I know of.
wow.
And I, it was this woman, she just had the funding, and she said, look, this is what I want to do with it. And so it was put out there. And yeah, so I've been able to be a doula out and also a doula in, and be able to work alongside midwives that hated us initially because of the experiences that they had with with a particular doula. And as far as they were concerned, we had come in there to take over their jobs or whatever. And we said, no, we're not coming here to take over. We're coming here to work alongside you. We want to be a team for every mother that walks through that door.
So
And
how was it though for you already having been a midwife to hear the um what is the word? A word just left me. To hear there was actually a word there. When those that they were cautious about working with doulas. You were a midwife already.
I
So
was, but I didn't say anything to anyone. I just kept that away. I just wanted to be a doula. But then when they did find out, it was, oh, why don't you just do your thing again, and you can join us? And I said, no, it's okay. I am not going to be pulled down in the hole that you're in right now. I said, you are in a deep hole, and I am not coming down there and joining you. You
are
know,
doulas are doulas regulated in the UK? Are there regulations about what like there is for midwifery or anything?
no, I mean, doulas are doulas. The thing is, it's doulas have been around for so long now that they now know what they can and cannot do. So there's, the laws are there. You are with a mother, but you are not a trained medical of trained medical staff like a
So,
midwife.
so then there are laws in the books about that.
Well,
With,
doulas
with,
know that
with
they
doulas?
can. There's only so far they can go.
So it's
Um,
okay. So that's
the
similar.
doctors and the midwives, they are the ones that will do everything else in relation to CTGs and taking blood pressure, etc. However, we do have I'm just trying to remember what they're called, MSWs, maternity support workers, and these are young girls who take blood pressure, take blood from pregnant women. So when pregnant women come in labor and such, the MSWs can then take their blood pressure, take bloods, urine test, and then able to pass its midwives. So in a way, it helps the midwives get on with other things instead of having to, I don't say waste time, but
Yeah, but
use up too much of their time.
and to be as
When,
efficient as possible.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. So yeah, we've got MSWs in certain hospitals, not all hospitals, but in certain hospitals they have them. So then that way midwives are able to get on with doing what is, priority really.
So tell me about you. You are an advocate for VBACs, for vaginal birth after cesarean.
Yes, I'm actually working alongside a mother who had her second VBAC. Her name is Jamila Campbell. Sorry, I'm saying Jamila, Chantel Campbell.
Okay.
And she has her VBAC summits on a yearly basis. And we work together in supporting mothers internationally because
Tell
there
me
are a
about
lot.
that.
Well, there are lots of mothers that are not getting any support at all. They don't have doctors or hospitals that support them. So we have connected with them on WhatsApp and we guide them on WhatsApp. We don't see them. We don't know what they look like. We just communicate by text. A mother will say, I'm 38 weeks, I've got high blood pressure, I've got this, I've got that, I'm suffering from diabetes. And then we just send them links to different articles, medical articles in relation to what they're going through. And we also help them to prepare for labor.
To have
And
a
a
VBAC.
lot of them, ah,
To have a VBAC. To
yes, yes. We had a mother have a VBAC last week with twins.
That is phenomenal. How did I not know you did that? I had no idea.
I think she's in Malaysia, if I'm correct. But yeah, she had twins and she was a VBAC. And
You
then
have
last year we had a mother in America and a mother in India have their babies on exactly the same day. And we were toing and froing with each one of them because one would be saying, oh, I'm at home. Another one would be saying, I'm on my way to the hospital. Then another one would say, I'm on my way to the hospital. The other one would be saying, I'm in the labor ward. And this is how it was going, toing and froing. It was so beautiful. And then, yeah, one had a boy and one had a girl, and both on the same day.
that is
So
so
I
amazing.
went actually onto Guinness Book of Records to find out. And there's nothing that talks about VBAC mothers having babies on the same day, VBAC mother having twins, nothing like that. So we've got to try and open up a pathway now because things are happening.
How did you get to that? How did that become so important to you?
I had a VBAC. No. I didn't have a VBAC. I had a cesarean section. And I always wondered what it would be like to have a vaginal birth after having a cesarean section. How would they treat you? And I found that mothers who are VBAC or desire a VBAC, they are fighters. They have to fight. They have to fight all the way for the 40 weeks. They have to fight until they find peace where, at week 28, maybe they find a hospital and then they find the doctor.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have a VBAC. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard it, bait and switch.
Yes, absolutely. That is the song over here, you know.
And
They're
that's
very
what we
yeah.
find. A lot of doctors will say to mothers, oh, yes, I'm a VBAC supporter. Oh, yes, you can have a VBAC. And then by week 37, 38, they're being told, oh, we're going to have to induce you now, or we won't allow you to go with the due date. Some mothers are then thinking, but I thought you were with me.
And
And
and it's really what's really I did not know about this particular thing you're telling me about. I knew about your advocacy work with VBACs, and you sent me your website stuff and everything before, but I didn't know about that. And I'm so glad you shared it, because truly, when that is one of the hardest things for me to, you know, to see a mom and to know that there will be the bait and switch, and
Yes.
to um and for her to say, you know, because if the doctor says no, I don't do VBACs, that's easy. Okay, you need to look for a different provider. What's not easy is when someone trusts their doctor,
Yes.
someone has built a rapport with them
Yes.
and feels good, and then it becomes a little bit stickier, because
Yes.
I'm not here trying to in any way hinder. I mean, the biggest thing is that a woman feels, one of the biggest and most important things in my opinion is that a woman feels safe where she's birthing, whether it's at
Yes.
home, birthing center, in the hospital. If you
That's
feel
right.
safe in the hospital, then that's going to help you birth better. But to
Hmm.
know that they're about to pull a bait and switch on her, to know that there's no evidence that this doctor supports this at all,
Yes. Yes.
and to even say to her, "Oh, have you asked him? You know, what are his VBAC rates? You know,
Yes.
how often does it happen? Oh, I don't know. You should ask him that. Ask him about that. You
Hmm.
know, or to have to just say, you know, sometimes, like there
Yeah.
was a mom, and she, because the baby was breech, she really wanted to vaginally birth her baby, and I'm not her medical professional, so I can't say what could or couldn't, whatever. She had 3 children or so, however many before, and she wanted to have this one vaginally as well. And because the baby was breech, her doctor did not, you know, that's an automatic cesarean. And I was trying to tell her, oh, see if they'll, you know, if they can turn the baby, see if they can whatever. Oh,
Yeah.
you go through all of the see what they can do.
Yes.
Um, but when I was asking her about, I was like, oh well, I was honest with her because she was asking. And I said, well, you know, for many doctors, once you have a cesarean, they consider you high risk, even though the risk for having a second cesarean is higher than having a vaginal birth after
Yes.
cesarean, even though the risk is higher to have another major abdominal surgery.
That's right.
Okay, they will tell you that the risk is higher for you to try to birth, uterine rupture, the whole nine.
Yes.
Um, and she said, "Oh no," she said, he said he would, that this was just this baby, and if I wanted to have another one, that I could have, that definitely, I it could happen. What am I supposed to say to that?
No, no.
What do I say?
It's
Okay,
very hard.
it is.
It's very hard. And for the mothers where they are in countries where they don't really allow that,
Yes.
it's just once a cesarean, always a cesarean. And it's funny because I had to ask myself, where did that term come from? And I've been putting it out on Instagram. It comes from your country. You know who said it?
Who said it?
Edwin Craigan. Look him
Oh my.
up. Yeah.
How am I not surprised? That somehow that doesn't
Edwin
surprise me.
Craigan. And I think it's 1912. He said it at a New York medical conference.
Ha.
Yeah. Once a cesarean, always a cesarean. And like I've said it on the Instagram as well, is that women have been held hostage with that saying. The minute you hear it, the minute a woman has a cesarean, as far as she's concerned, always a cesarean. And
So
it's not
then,
true.
and it's
It's
not
not
true.
true. It
So
really isn't.
So then, even tying it back to what you mentioned before, here more Black women have cesareans, and so you were talking about before how, um, well, I had mentioned how trusting we seem to be of the system and all of these other things. And I know that you have a podcast where you, what do you call it? You said you
Pregnancy without fear.
pregnant. That's what it's called. And I can only, and I know that with VBACs, fear can come just from being pregnant. People, you know,
Yeah.
over here, their favorite, you know, I wrote a blog post, a little article one a couple of years ago, and I was talking about, you know, just look up pregnancy birth, you know, Black woman pregnancy birth, um, and watch what comes up. And it's just a litany, a list of Black women died, death, birth causes death in Black women, Black women and babies die during childbirth, and it's just the page rolls. And I
Yes.
often say to people, I say, you know, at what point do we move beyond alerting people to what's happening and sounding the alarm that has to be sounded, and then at what point do we begin to project those things in the atmosphere where it causes fear? So if there's a fear, because I have had women come to me, want me, you know, be my doula, I just don't want to die.
Yes.
So now VBAC has its own thing because they're going basically with the same thing.
Yes.
It's like your uterine will rupture. We won't, you know, you'll die. That's what they're basically saying, is that you'll die.
Yeah.
They're not saying you're going to bleed a lot. That they're really saying that, but they say it in, you know, their terms, medical terms, and things like that. How would you, in your mind, from your experience in the work that you're doing with the pregnancy without fear, how do you, because of how, okay, let me try to get my words out. How would you pair that pregnancy without fear, being a Black woman, like if I'm over here in the US, I don't know what they're saying to y'all over there, but over here they're just telling us we die. When we get pregnant, we die. That's what they're telling us. How would you, how do you look at pregnancy without fear when it comes to that, what's being, you know, kind of projected as Black women and what we're dealing with and what's being projected onto us? Because these are women that are these are Black women that are researching, they're looking themselves up. Like, what do I need to know as a Black woman? And what comes to them is you're going to die. So how is that pregnancy without fear as a Black woman, and then pregnancy without fear as a VBAC? Is there any correlation where it's all basically the same thing, and it's the fear is the fear, or are there different things you would tell different people? Is there something different you would say to a VBAC that you would say to a Black woman? Or is it just, is there at the core of it, is that fear? How do you deal with that fear, period?
It really depends upon the individual.
Okay.
Each woman is different. Just like the pregnancy, a woman can have 5 children.
Yeah.
Each pregnancy is different. Each birth is different, but the same mother. And when it comes to pregnancy, I always say to women that, especially VBAC women, when it comes to the scar rupturing, I always ask them, why is it that the scar doesn't rupture while you are pregnant? Why would it only be when you're in labor? It doesn't make sense, because this baby is growing, isn't it? And your womb is being stretched. The scar is being stretched. I mean, if a woman's carrying twins, how comes the scar didn't rupture then? So it really is about re-educating and getting women to understand their physiology. It's about physiology, anatomy and physiology. Seriously, I can't say it any clearer than that, you know, because we have this tendency of focusing on contractions, dilation, having an episiotomy. These are all the things. And because so many hundreds of women before you've heard their stories and you've heard of what happened to them, you just automatically superimpose their story and their experience on you. Oh, that's what's going to happen to me. That's what's going to happen to me. So when I refer women to articles, the first thing I have to tell them is, this article is not related to you, because the article comes based upon the experiments or the experiences of hundreds of women before you. And it does not mean that this is going to happen to you. What you're doing is you take the principles of it, and then I have to share with them what the principles are. And then they say, oh, right, now I understand. And it's about getting them to understand. When they understand, they become more confident.
I love that. I love everything you said, because one of the You mentioned before the reason why you went back to the doula work as opposed to the midwifery, and one of the things that I find that I do see consistently is when we talk about education. I'm so glad you explained what that looked like, because over here often when people say education, oh, we need to educate the people. Let us
Yes.
educate the people. What that means is we'll have a class and we'll present the information.
Mm,
Their compartments, and if they hold it really well, then we've educated them.
yes.
Okay.
But it also, using the word education in a way makes it sound demeaning, because it makes it sound as though you know nothing and I'm going to educate you.
Well,
Whereas,
that's how they say it over here. I'm just,
yeah, no, they say it here too. There's
Okay.
seriously, it's the same thing here. You know, it's knowing how to explain, or if you're going to use the word, then give it a meaning that makes them feel empowered, not, you know, beneath you or dumb, and this is what we tend to do. Oh, I'm going to educate you because I'm a doctor and you're a nurse. I'm going to educate you because I'm the secretary and you're the cleaner. That's not what it's about. It's about getting you to understand what your body is going to go through, and what ways can you, or you ways that you can get to cope with what is going to happen. So you hire a doula, or you find out if there are any female members of the family that maybe can be with you for even just a little while. But the
Exactly.
whole point is that you feel supported, but you also feel supported knowing what is happening, not just seeing or feeling it happen and you're totally petrified about what's going to happen next.
I really, oh, that is just so wonderful. And there's a midwife in the Chicago area. She's been working with families for 50 plus years. And I think one of the things that we underestimate, and even why I said thank you for explaining what that looks like and what that means, and when you're describing it, I think one of the things is that when we are talking about educating people, it doesn't include a human factor at all. It doesn't include our humanity at all.
Yes.
It
Yes.
just, it's just, I'm going to give you this information.
Yes.
And if
Yes.
you're smart enough, you'll
That's
read it. You'll read it and you'll digest it
yeah.
and you'll get it. What I hear you saying is that there's a part that part of the work that you do is to engage this critical thinking part of us. And so I'm an educator, so I'm very critical of the education systems and everything. So it's one thing to just say I gave you the information. It's another thing to help them deconstruct what we're talking here about,
Yes.
the fear, to help them deconstruct what that is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like baby carrying, and I have said to people when I have visited Africa, and there's so many women with their babies on their backs, and then I come back here and there people are like, I need to see my baby, I need to be able to see
Yeah.
you, I need to be able to whatever, right? Okay, nothing wrong with that, because I actually, there's so many differences. For example, um, from my encounters and encouragement and whatever else,
Yes.
and my experiences, most often where I was, the men would go first. Now
Right.
in American culture, that's like, how rude is he?
Yes.
How blah blah blah. Well, either that or you're a feminist. I don't know. It's just always some perspective about it, right? But in African culture, that man would go first as a
Mhm.
protection. So whatever is coming for me can whatever's coming, I'm catching it.
Yeah.
Whatever's happening, I'm gonna encounter it first. Over here is ladies first. Is I mean, open the door, you go in first.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so when I'm talking to people that want to really, really, I want to carry my baby. I want to. I can't on my back. I can do the front, but my back. I said, so well, let me just share what my African family and sisters and brothers and what the women in
Yes.
my life have explained. When I have a front carrier, when they use something in the front, they said that woman is not working because she's not going to be working over a stove where her
Yes.
baby would
Babies at the
get.
front. Of course.
That woman is not going to be doing many things that could endanger her
Yes.
baby. So that's not a working posture of a mother and a baby.
Yes.
She said, however, they would tell me, they would explain, because I really didn't get it. That I get educated a lot. They said, but if you are, I'm always telling people, turn your phones off, and then my phone lights up. Okay. But when you carry, so thinking about again how a man would posture for a woman and be the one that goes first. What happens when something scary comes? It's like, oh my goodness. And you go and you hide behind a thing.
Yes.
Okay. A person that hides behind someone, like if a man runs behind a woman over here, you're considered to be a coward. Why would you run behind the woman? Putting our babies behind mentally behind us, it's like, I can't see them, I can't see them, I can't see them. That's the way many of us think over, like,
Yes.
it's just in a part of the way we've been socialized. But in a different African context, you are the protector. And just like the man would go first before you would go as the woman, then the baby, you will catch the brunt of whatever happens before the baby will. I deconstruct that for women so that even if it doesn't turn out that you feel comfortable, at least you will understand that that way of thinking of this is just him being generous, or the things that are most precious to me are things I can see in front of me.
Yes.
So my everything is in front of me. Everything is in front of me. In different cultures and in different environments, you would not send your child through a forest first.
No.
You would be like, stand right here behind me. Stand here.
That's
so our environments are helping us feel safer,
yes.
and determining where safety is for us. Where do I feel safe? Well, I feel safe. I want to see where everybody is. What do we say? We say things like being a backstabber.
Yes.
Someone hugs you and then they stab you in the back at the same time. Whereas on the continent, there are so many cultures where when you extend your hand, your right hand most often to give something, they want to see where your left hand is.
Yes.
For that very reason. So it's like all of these contextual things. And I love that when you spoke about VBAC, you broke it down like only a good educator could.
Thank you.
And you said, wait, so why doesn't it rupture while it's stretching? And why doesn't it rupture? Why all that pregnancy and you're walking? Why is it only during labor? And causing people to ask those questions and to question, where did I get that belief from? Why was it so easy for me to hold on to it? And what I found, because I've homeschooled my children for 13 years, they're not now they're big people, but and adults and all that stuff. But one of the things that I focused on, especially as us being Black people and often in oppressive systems, is you must deconstruct how you got to that belief. And you mentioned before that VBAC mothers are very, what word did you use? You said bold or courageous or brave, or no, you said
they're warriors, they're fighters.
Yeah. You said they are really warriors, because what they're doing is willingly standing and looking in the face of
yes
what they've been told is uncertain death.
Impossible. It's, as far as they're concerned, it's impossible. You imagine killing a woman, and there are women who have had 2, 3, 4 cesareans, and they still were able to be successful in birthing vaginally. And and the feeling that they ooze of knowing that their body can do it, because this is what the issue is. The issue is, how comes what has my body failed me? What can't I birth this way? And then, they're walking around for years meeting other women who said, oh, I had a vaginal birth. Oh, I had a vaginal birth. And then you're walking away thinking, I didn't have a vaginal birth. Can I have one? Why? Because it's in our nature. We've been created that way. So why aren't we not having our babies that way?
Yeah.
And in many guises, I say guises, that, there are doctors, there are some doctors who are very helpful, supportive all the way. And then there's other doctors that just don't seem to feel that, no, this is not going to happen. And they give you time limits, they give you countdown, they give you boundaries, and you're thinking, no, this cannot be for real.
That is the norm here. That is the norm. I have so much appreciation for your passion for this work, and I love that you do it internationally. I'm going to ask you at the very end to tell them whatever, but just before I ask you a couple of few questions left, just say it here. How could someone that wanted to get that type of support for a VBAC, how could they contact you? What could they do?
They can contact me through Pregnancy Without Fear, in Instagram,
On
Pregnancy Without Fear,
at Pregnancy Without
because
Fear.
I would like them also to listen to the podcasts, because I've got some podcasts on VBAC as well. So
And
I'd like them to listen to that.
that's amazing. That is
And
so.
they can listen to it on Anchor, Spotify, Google, iTunes. So there's all those different platforms that they can listen to.
I like it because I've listened to some of your podcasts, and you are very. It I love hearing your voice speak about it, and I just really like the way that you present that, and so I know that that is going to be something that can really help women. I love knowing that you all are using technology like WhatsApp to help get women who want to have a VBAC to get to set them on a path to learn how to advocate for themselves and figure out how they can make these things happen in their lives.
Yes. And they can listen to the podcasts. They can subscribe to it. If they've got messages, they can, they've got questions.
Yeah.
It's there, because I feel that it is about empowering women. It really is. And it's empowering them in the right way. Some women will have cesarean section. They've chosen it, and that's the way they're going. I don't stop
Exactly.
them, and I am not going to make them feel any less, because that's the choice they've made.
Yeah.
I had a couple of women who chose cesarean sections because of the trauma that they went
Yes,
through,
absolutely. I
and
remember, yeah.
they just were not going to try for labor at all, and in their pregnancy, their blood pressure's high. I mean, there's so much going on, and they're in total fear. And I just say to them, look, for me, it's about your sanity. And I've said this to women from 1993. When you choose, whatever you choose to do, I would like to know that you are happy with that choice. Because when you had your baby in your arms, you're going to be asking yourself questions. Should I have done it this way? Should I have done it that way? But if you choose the way you want to go, and that's the way you want to go, I will support you regardless. Because I would rather have a mother who is happy with the choice she's made than someone who is unhappy because someone pushes her into a corner of, oh, do it this way, do it that way. And then she has a baby in her arms and she regrets or she feels guilty. That's not what we want. We want, I mean, now look, the trend now is mental health.
Exactly.
Antenatal depression, postnatal depression. I mean, all these depression, why? There's no need for it.
Yeah.
Allow the woman to do or choose the way she wants to go and still support her. Just support her. So that way she doesn't end up. I remember, I have to say this, there was a client She had her baby, had trauma with her first. She's now pregnant with her second, and her husband was going to section her because she was so out of it, could not connect with her baby, could not connect because she was now pregnant, and she was going, as far as she's concerned, she thought she was going down the same road. And so they hired me as their doula. And he said, if you weren't here, I would have sectioned her. This is how far it can go. And even with fathers as well. Oh, Queen, you know, we overlook the fathers to be. We really overlook them, because one mother said to me, oh, you know, why do we need to have, you know, what's this about fathers having depression? And I'd say to them, but he was the first supporter. When you're not sleeping, when you have cravings at 3 o'clock in the morning, when you start vomiting, who is it that's there for you? I said, can you call your doctor? Can you call your midwife? No. The only time they're going to be there is when you're going to be giving birth. But for the next 7 or 8 months, 9 months, it's your husband that has to, or your partner that has to be with you, watching you go through the nausea, go through the hyperemesis, the high blood pressure. He is the one that has to support you with all of that. And I feel that because men take on that through the pregnancy, I can understand why they can end up having depression. I really can understand it, because they don't understand birth. They don't understand it. They've never given, they don't have discharges like we do.
Right.
They don't have periods like we do. They don't have these emotional, hormonal feelings like we do. They don't have it. Talk to a man about a period. He'll tell you, don't talk to me about that. I don't want to know, because it has nothing to do with him. And the same thing with birth. It's not that it has nothing to do with him. He just doesn't understand the labor process.
That's thank you for that. Because I particularly believe that, especially because as far as Black women are concerned, I actually talked to the elder midwife I was telling you about, and she was saying that here, when they started inviting the men into the birthing room, that the Black men were the most reluctant.
Yeah.
They were the most reluctant because I believe, when I heard that, I was like, really? I believe culturally, and I do consider that we have some type of like DNA memory of stuff. It just felt like to them, this should be whatever. You know, you hear things you pass down through generations and different things like that. Here, they were not, you know, whether they were American born or immigrants or whatever, they were not thinking just automatically I'm supposed to be in the room. And they were the most resistant to that. However, for me, for example, my husband he was a rock star. He was the only support I had for all 4 of my births.
Yes.
And so I know that if that's the decision made by that couple, that can be very, very significant, because when I think back on my birthing experiences, he was the one that amplified my voice. He amplified the things. I felt secure in my birthing body, but he amplified my voice. So he didn't allow them to make my voice just disappear. And if he said, he would say, my wife says she feels this. She knows her body. So that was, you know, he was, you know, that was the role that he played with all of them. Sitting there, just holding space, just sitting there. And 1 second when I wanted touch, and then the next when I moved his hand and I said, don't breathe. And I'm like, shh, don't breathe. He was able, he just was there. So I really, really, really appreciate that. What word would you leave for Black women, whether just diasporically? We talked before, and we were talking about how they just don't want to know. I have my own thoughts about why, you know, we in some ways have come apathetic to stuff. I think that a lot of it just has to do with, I could say it that way, but I won't. A lot of it just, I think some of it is we were waiting so long to get freedoms, waiting so long to be treated a certain way. And the way some people, I've heard some people say, it's like, oh, it's like, in some ways we thought that, you know, white people's ice was a little colder than our ice. You know, we thought that whatever this system, like you mentioned before, whatever was in this system, it had to be better. And we're just going to go in and we'll go with it, you know, into this culture that's not safe really for us. It's not safe enough for us to just like, whew, okay, I'm here now. Because in our country, childbirth is very litigious. You're going, you know, lawsuits and things like that, very, very litigious. And so because of that, that is why doctors are less prone to do VBACs and why they're less, because here you will get sued, you know, you can get sued. And so they just say, I don't do this. Some of them don't do water births.
Yes, yes.
Some of, you know, nope, I'm not going to be responsible. You know, so they have this culture of fear that then is projected onto these women. And the only way to say, I mean, do you know, I actually saw an article yesterday. Someone posted an article. Someone said obese women or something were at higher risk.
Yes.
Because of fat vaginas?
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
Just, it's as if sometimes they just make the stuff up as they go. It's like, I'm just gonna make it up. I'm just gonna make it up as I go. And then they project that fear onto the women. Now it's projected onto the women. Now it's whatever. But what would you say to Black women? Because I do believe that between all of us is just as diasporic African people. And I don't know exactly, I don't know enough of UK history to say I know all the intricacies of whatever. I don't know your specific lineage and how your people ended up in the UK or anything like that. You can share if you want to. But I do believe that we have common issues. Like you said, the rate of maternal mortality rate is increasing for all of us.
Yeah.
What would you say globally, just to Black women?
Oh, there's so much to say.
Go for it.
And you could go from A to Z and back to A again with us. There's so much that we've lost and we are now regaining. There's so much that we've gained, but we don't understand. So it's knowing how do we impart where you get the understanding and then you're able to work it out, but you value it. Because that's one of the things that I realized with us, we don't value what should be valued. We value things. And so our nails and our hair and our face and looking good is what is important. And when I hear about 5 times more likely to die in childbirth, I look at how we eat and how we're just letting ourselves go to the point where, you know, I used to watch documentaries on American women in labor in the hospitals, but they're like a size 22. I don't know, sorry, because I know 22 is not yours.
Right. I'm trying to figure out.
Really overweight, you know, and I'm thinking, how did you get to that point where you're expecting, and now you know when you're expecting, you're going to put on weight. Yeah. Even if you eat rubbish, it doesn't matter. The whole point is you have to eat. So you'll eat. But what you're eating is making you get even bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where you can't even see your belly button. Your blood pressure is high. You've got diabetes. All these things. And I really say to us that we have to be aware of what we're eating, why we're eating it, how we eat it, even how we cook. Because a lot of what is being passed to us has been passed down. And we don't realize that what our mothers passed to us, a mother didn't know. She was just going by what she was taught, and her mother taught her. And so this is what's been going on. It's been a trend for us where we just pass things down to our children, but we don't really understand why we're doing it or why we're telling our children to do it. We're just telling them, well, this is how it should be done, but
And
not why. And then when our children ask us, well, why, mummy? Why do? Oh, I don't know. Don't ask me any question.
so
Just
in the
do it.
UK, do you all have like food deserts? Do you all have food deserts here? I
What's
mean,
that?
here. Okay, so in the United States, there will be many of the communities, and people will say the Black communities, but in the United States, we might have like a Chinatown where Asian people will actually have stores and restaurants and hotels and whatever, and that's where culturally their things. This is Chinatown, and then over here you might have Greek Town, and so you'll have these will be the places where certain groups of people that have immigrated to this country, this is what, it's not where they live necessarily, but this
Right.
is their culture. This is like where they do their thing the way they do their thing. Most of the Black neighborhoods, especially that are even shown on television, most of these the Blackness that's shown, and what people would even say are Black neighborhoods, are places where they put us. And
Right.
so when we did establish Black, well, they call it Black Wall Street or Rosewood, or these different towns where we were self-sufficient without them. So it was our version of the cleaners is Black, the store is Black, the tailor is Black, everybody's Black, and we have our own little thing. Literally, systematically, there's they would go even into the 80s. There was a community. I couldn't believe it because I was born. The government bombed an actual community. First, of course, they labeled them as like domestic terrorists. They said,
Right.
we gave you time to get out. And then they bombed their homes, literally bombed their homes. And that's just typically been the kind of relationship when you get too far out of whatever. Now you can go, and we have laws where you can go and be, my neighborhood is not all Black. My neighborhood is very much mixed with a bunch of different ethnicities and races of people. But whenever you hear Black neighborhood in the United States, most likely it is going to be because that's where they put Black people. The
Right.
other thing about those Black neighborhoods, though, is that there will not be a grocery store within a few miles.
Wow.
So most of the time, these people are poorer. Most of the time, these people are, not all the time. It's not like everybody in there is like, poor.
Yes.
But what it means is that, for example, if you use public transportation, like if I go to the store and my husband and I go, we get the groceries, we put them in there. We can pile it up and we'll get these. But those individuals, um, they might be on public transportation.
Right.
They might not, and so they not having a grocery store
Yes.
means that you literally don't have fresh fruit in this mile radius of your house. Like I forget, maybe 5 miles. Like there's a radius of your house where there is absolutely no fresh foods.
No.
At the same time, there are corner stores that have
Okay.
chips and sweet drinks with a bunch of high fructose sugars. They got all the whatevers. None of them are owned by Black people. They're
Yeah.
all owned by someone else. But that is the place that you can easily get to get something. But none of it is going to have fresh fruit. None of it is going to have fresh food of any kind. And that really contributes to what we see. And those are some of the problems that we try to mitigate. Or it's just really amazing how it plays into those things when you talk about diabetes, when you're talking about um, high blood pressure and things like that. It's not always because of that. Some of it is just I chose to eat this thing, but some of
Yes.
it is a part of the strategic layout of how they have positioned people. Like here we have like Flint, Michigan, and they're still waiting to get pipes after years. Their water causing disease, but because it is a place where Black people live, when they show the documentaries, they'll show how it affects the white people that live there too. But the majority of the people there are Black people. And so I love what you say about like really educating yourself about understanding. You know, sadly, it takes more effort to go and find that food.
Yeah.
That will not literally kill you. Also some of the restrictions you all have over your food, what you can put in food and what you cannot, those restrictions do not apply here.
Right.
So literally, there are things that could never be sold in the UK and put in food in the UK that here our laws do not prevent.
Okay.
And because of that, that also influences things, that influences our health. And I always tell people, well, there's a saying we have here. It's like, okay, well, if everybody else has a cold, then Black people have the flu. It's like whatever it is that our country, because it's our country that is feeding us these foods that are not good. And did you know this? Maybe it's like this in UK too. Did you know that in our stores, all of our food is always pretty? Our fruit is pretty.
It's the
Do you
same thing
know?
over here.
Yeah.
Perfect. Everything's perfect. The fruits
Everything is
are perfect. You won't be able to go and find a fruit that, an apple with a worm in it, because that's how you don't see oranges that's, that they look out of shape. Everything is perfect.
perfect. And so
Even
it's
all our fruits are waxed.
yes.
We have,
Oh, so we're in that area, we're the same. All of those things contribute
yeah,
to our health. And we are such a large country over here with so many different
states.
states that are
Oh,
different climates and they grow different foods and they do
yes,
different things. But I just wanted to say that because it's a lot of times you know when we deal with our women over here, we get so much there a lot of people like there what people see of us, which is like why I do these video interviews as well. What people see of us is only what they've decided can be shown of us if it's on a network or whatever. And they just, for whatever reason, they choose to show those that is like, well, no wonder the Black women are dying, because see, this is what they say when we go to the hearings about this. They'll
yes,
say, oh, well, it's because, I mean, look at how she's eating and look at how she's whatever.
yeah,
When we also have the women who are eating and exercising every day and doing everything right, but are still facing the same challenges.
same thing, same thing here.
So, okay,
Same.
so I'm going to let you close out however you want. What is the message? As you 25 plus years in birth culture, doing this work, in love with this work, still doing the work. What is it that we should expect to see from you? Because I could see you, huh?
From me personally.
From you personally.
Oh.
You're like, well, who? No,
Well, to be honest, for me, it really is about helping mothers, women in general as well. It's just about having peace of mind, being more mindful of when we know we've conceived, and then how we conduct ourselves in our pregnancy so that we are ready and looking forward to labor and childbirth. And we don't do that because there's so many issues in our lives. And because we don't have the right support around us, it makes it very difficult for us to be able to say, I'm enjoying my pregnancy.
Mm.
So Pregnancy Without Fear is about getting women to enjoy their pregnancy by coming to Pregnancy Without Fear and listening to, as well as imparting what they feel will help them to enjoy. Women want to enjoy their pregnancy, but a lot of the times, 90% of the time, it's fear, worry, concern, anxiety. Why? And it's because women do not know what to do in their pregnancy to say, ah, oh, I'm at peace. Even for 5 minutes, I'm at peace. And so Pregnancy Without Fear, that's what Pregnancy Without Fear is all about. Interviewing individuals who are in professions that can help, hypnobirthing, massaging, herbalists, whatever that really can help to enhance and make a woman feel good while she's pregnant. And then podcasts from myself that just speak on different issues, but have you thinking about, I think, oh, I never looked at it like that, and then try to do something better.
And who is the woman that should definitely reach out to Sister Delia? Who is that woman? What is she feeling right now? And how does she know that you're talking specifically to her?
The woman that I really would like to come to me, to reach out to me, are women who are constantly worrying, constantly. It doesn't stop. They don't sleep. It's not because the baby's moving around a lot. They don't sleep because they're always worrying about something. And I want to get to those women. I really want to touch those women in understanding why they're going through these things, how they can cope, what are the solutions. If I don't have the solution, who can I refer them to? Because it's not just about me. A lot of the things I know nothing about, and I will refer them to another professional who will be able to give them the answer.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you
thank
for your.
you.
I appreciate so much you speaking with me. I mean, whew, I just have enjoyed the time. I'm
I've
so
enjoyed it too.
I'm
I,
excited for people to be able to reach out to you. I'm so grateful for technology that allows us,
isn't
um,
it?
both as daughters of the African diaspora. But
Yes.
oh wait, so tell me, what is your lineage? How did your people get to England?
Oh, my parents are from Jamaica,
Ah, Jamaica.
and they came on the Windrush, and yes, it was a very touching time for them. But I mean, they're no longer here,
Mhm.
but there's been a lot of changes over here based upon the Windrush era, and a lot of how can I say, our elders.
Yes,
There's a big gap. I don't know what it's like in America, but there's a big gap between the young and the old over here.
the
The
same.
old see the young as problems, and then the young see the old as, oh, that was your day, it's not ours.
Same.
So, there's this gulf between us, and we've got to find ways to be able to get them to link. So there's quite a few like old people's homes and places like that where they're allowing young children to go and visit and spend the day with elders, to find out, get some history, and to appreciate what it means to be around an elder, and for elders to appreciate what it means to be around the young ones and how the young ones think as well. So I think that's something that it should continue, and I'm hoping it's like that in America. I don't know.
It's definitely very, very similar. I think there tend to be a lot of similarities because the British were the ones who began colonies over here. So there are a lot of similarities in that way. And also in my ancestry, I did one of those DNA tests, and they just updated it earlier a few months ago, and they were showing first that within the past 200 years, you have a connection with people in Jamaica, and they were like, it's pretty strong connection. And then I checked on it earlier this month or last month, and they were like, here's where they were in Saint Elizabeth Parish. I'm like, what?
That's where my parents come from.
Are you serious?
Yeah, my mother, yeah, St. Elizabeth. Yeah.
I'm still processing what that actually means.
Okay.
No, I mean, just for me, because there's no one in
Of
my family.
course.
It adds on to the fact that there's so much we don't know about ourselves,
Yes.
and why we need our elders, and why we need to listen to them, and why we need to sit with them and not think that they're too old, the past. They are literally our connection to who we are.
Definitely.
You know? And so I every time I think about it, because it's like, okay, I'm gonna have to pursue that and look and dive more into it. It's just amazing though that nowhere in my family had, because when you talk about not talking, not asking questions, here, my family on both sides were just really trying to survive. And so when the integration came, they made sure we were educated and could fit into this society very, very well. But then we didn't ask the questions necessarily.
Yes.
And we didn't deconstruct like we were saying before. So I'm going to pursue that. And oh man, and your mom is from there? It's still my heart. Okay. But anyway, I'll end it for real this time. Some of you all I could just talk to and talk to and talk to. I'm so glad we eventually had an opportunity to do this. Could you tell the people how they can get in touch with you? Of course, it'll be below, but could you tell them how they can get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me, Instagram, at Pregnancy Without Fear, Delia at deliamuhammad.com, Delia at pregnancy-without-fear.com.
Thank you. Thank you, my beautiful sister. Thank you for spending all this time. Thank you for just
asked me to come here and connect with you. I really feel honored. And it's seriously, I could talk to you for hours.
I know.
And just come over and we just talk. And hopefully one day we can do that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just so excited. Every connection I make with another daughter of the African diaspora that's doing the work, it just blesses my heart. And so I want to say thank you again.
Thank you. And I'm glad that we're connected because there's so much to share. And I think that it's needed. It's needed now.
All right. You all, her information is listed below. Thank you again, my beautiful sister.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching.
Bye.
Take care, Andrea. And I don't know how to do this thing now.
No.